You ever hear a story that just sounds impossible? Like, how could a local brand, started by a bunch of farmers, take on and actually beat some of the biggest, baddest billion-dollar companies on the planet? Well, we're going to dive right into that, because today we are unpacking the absolutely incredible story of AMUL. This is a true David versus Goliath tale, but for the world of dairy.
So yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? How did this happen? I mean, really think about it. A small brand owned by farmers becoming the world's largest milk producer. It sounds crazy. How do you not just survive, but totally dominate a market when global giants are pouring millions, and I mean millions of dollars into it? The answer, as you'll see, is a total masterclass in strategy, community, and some really smart tech.
Okay, so to really get AMUL'S story, you've got to understand the world it was born into. We're talking about a system that was completely broken, run by giants, and just begging for a shakeup. The most important people, the farmers, were getting left in the dust.
All right, let's wind the clock back to the 1940s. Picture this. You're a dairy farmer in a place like Anand in Gujarat. You work incredibly hard, but you're totally trapped. You're at the mercy of these middlemen who are just squeezing you. They buy your milk for pennies on the dollar, if they even buy it at all. So much of your hard work, your milk would literally just spoil. And then, after India's independence, the big global players show up, licking their lips at what they saw as an easy, wide-open market.
And we're not talking about small players here. We mean the Goliath. You know the names, Nestlé, Britannia. These guys had billion-dollar war chests. They looked at India and thought, hey, this is easy. Massive population, no real competition, cha-ching. Easy money. They had the cash, the global brands, the decades of experience, the whole shebang. They thought it was going to be a walk in the park. Oh boy, were they wrong.
So you have this system where farmers are getting crushed. And that kind of pressure, it creates the perfect opening for a revolution. This is where our story's hero comes in. But it's not a single person. It's a totally radical idea. This was the slingshot for our David.
In that idea, the cooperative model. It's so simple but so powerful. Instead of working for some big, faceless company, the farmers became the company. And look, this isn't just some nice, feel-good story. It is a brilliant, brilliant business model. Think about it. Every single farmer supplying milk was now an owner. They had a direct stake in how well the company did, they got a vote on big decisions, and they got a piece of the profits.
Just pause on that for a second. What if every single worker had real skin in the game? What do you think happens to quality, to motivation, to loyalty? Suddenly, every person in your supply chain is an owner. This wasn't just about selling milk anymore. This was about empowerment, and it changed everything.
So here's how it actually worked on the ground. Super simple and totally elegant. A farmer milks their cow, walks it over to the village collection center, bam! It gets tested for quality right there, and it's instantly chilled. That's it. This simple direct link completely cut out those exploitative middlemen. And the result? Well, farmers got fair prices for their hard work, and you, the consumer, got a much better, fresher product. It was a total win-win.
Okay, but a brilliant idea is just an idea, right? You have to be able to execute. And this is key. AMUL didn't just have this amazing social model, they backed it up with some serious tech and infrastructure. They built what you could call a massive milk machine that stretched across the entire country.
Now this is what really set them apart. We're talking modern chilling centers in thousands of villages, right where the milk was coming from. They built this thing called a cold chain, which is basically just an unbroken chain of refrigerated trucks and storage that kept the milk perfectly fresh from the tiniest village to the biggest city. And get this, they poured money into R&D, figuring out how to make stuff like world-class cheese from buffalo milk, which, by the way, all the international experts said couldn't be done.
So this was way bigger than just one company's success. This was nation-building. This whole movement, led by the legendary Verghese Kurian, kicked off what's known as India's White Revolution. It literally transformed the country from being milk deficient to becoming the #1 largest milk producer in the entire world. Just incredible.
All right, so AMUL has the killer business model and the high-tech machine to back it up, but there was still one final battle to win, the battle for the hearts, minds, and taste buds of the Indian consumer. And honestly, this is where the global giants just completely fumbled the ball.
The difference in strategy couldn't be more black and white. On one hand, you have the multinationals. They just ran their standard, one-size-fits-all global playbook. Go after the rich folks in the big cities with fancy, premium products. High margins, low volume. But AMUL,
They did the exact opposite. Their mission was to serve everybody. They made affordable, great quality products for every class, every region, and they brilliantly positioned themselves as the taste of India.
And this quote just nails it. The big global brands were just outsiders trying to sell a product, a commodity. But AMUL, they were sharing a piece of India itself. It was seen as a national treasure, a company that belonged to the people. You just can't buy that kind of trust and loyalty. It has to be earned.
So, after all that, did the strategy actually work? Yeah. The numbers are just mind-blowing. AMUL didn't just compete with the giants, they absolutely left them in the dust. They became the undisputed #1 in India and, yeah, eventually the biggest milk producer on the planet.
But here's the number that really matters. It's not just about market share. It's about the 3.6 million farmer families who didn't just become suppliers, they became owners. They got to share directly in the wealth that they helped create. We're talking about wealth creation on a scale that is just massive.
And that grassroots movement, it's now a global powerhouse. Today, AMUL'S annual group turnover is more than $8 billion. Just take a second and think about that journey. From a small group of struggling farmers in Gujarat to an $8 billion giant on the world stage. It is nothing short of staggering.
So what's the bottom line? What can we all learn from this amazing underdog story? Because whether you're building a startup, running a business, or you just love a good case study, there are some seriously powerful lessons here.
All right, here are the big three. First, empower your base. The biggest lesson from AMUL is simple. Owners work way harder than employees. When people have a real stake in the game, their motivation is just on another level. Second, adapt to the local culture. The giants failed because they just copy-pasted their global strategy. AMUL won because it was authentically, unapologetically Indian. And third, build networks, not just products. AMUL's real competitive advantage, its moat, wasn't just its butter. It was its untouchable distribution network and the rock-solid trust it built over decades.
At the end of the day, the AMUL story proves one thing for sure. A business that's built on community and a real sense of purpose can take on anybody. Turns out, the most revolutionary idea of all was just giving power back to the people. So, I want to turn it over to you. What's the most inspiring business lesson you've ever learned? I'd love to read your stories, so drop them in the comments below.
You ever hear a story that just sounds impossible?